Hello, this is Adam from the Innocent System. In this video, I want to talk about the 7 things that it's kind of hard to get used to when you have dissociative identity disorder. Because when you have dissociative identity disorder, believe me, your day can be very interesting, to say the least. And so these are the 7 things that I personally experience a lot, having did those who have DID can attest they experience these same things. And so these are my 7, top list of things that either annoys me or some things that are just funny. And so anyway, let's get started. Okay, starting at number 1 about the 7 things about DID is time. When you have DID, you tend to lose time. You tend to lose a lot of time, and sometimes you cannot even understand how weird that feels when you lose that amount of time. Because I had several instances, several times where I'll be me as the host. I'll be out and I'll be talking, and it'll be like a example. It's a Monday, and next someone decides the front probably Monday night, and next I come back in as the host, and it's like Wednesday night. And so you think about what the heck happened to those days of that time. And it's kind of a weird, creepy feeling in a way because you don't know where that time went because you were not out. And with the amnesia barriers when it comes to DID, you don't know what happened unless someone tells you or unless the alter writes it down on your phone app or even leaves a voicemail to let you know what's going on. You have no clue what's going on. And so time is a really, really freaky thing when we have DID. And sometimes time can go slow, like really slow. Sometimes time can go fast. And sometimes time can feel like it stands still. And so with DID, time again is a very interesting thing because you feel like you're always trying to play catch up. That's the only way I can describe it. And so that is my number 1 part of DID, and that will be time. For our number 2 on this list will be called blackouts. Yes, that's right, blackouts. We have DID. Not every system has a blackout. Some systems are able to communicate with each other, and there's no blackouts between alters. And some systems actually do blackout. And so, again, this is not for every system. Every system blacks out, just letting you know. But in our system, personally, we have blackouts between alters or even between switches. We have blackouts. And so blackouts can be very scary and it's not normal. Like, the average person walking on the street probably doesn't have a blackout. But when you have DID, it can be very nerve-wracking that you have a blackout. Like, for example, for me, I was supposed to go to a job interview. And so I was going to my job interview. It was actually a job interview for Office Depot. And so I was going to Office Depot for my job interview. And so I got actually, my wife, she had the car. And so I was going on public transportation to go to the job interview. And so I went on a bus, and next I completely blacked out. And so when I came to, I was not at Office Depot, but I was at Nordstrom's. And I'm thinking, how the hell did I get to Nordstrom? And so I was looking around thinking, why the hell am I in Nordstrom? And one of my alters spoke to me in the headspace, and she told me she wants to get a job at Nordstrom. She does not want to get a job at Office Depot. She thinks it's boring. And I'm thinking, lady, you just hijacked my job interview. Why are you doing that? And so the alter was called Nicole. Nicole's cool, but that's what Nicole did. I got the blackout, and I found myself not at Office Depot, but at Macy's. Not Macy's, but at Nordstrom. And so it was actually a crazy experience. I have a lot more examples of those experiences. But blackouts, again, are not fun because sometimes there's amnesia gaps. There could be a lot of information that I need to know that I don't have access to because they're taking care of it. And now, how does blackouts happen? Well, sometimes an alter can be triggered to come out to the front. And who knows what it can be. It can be a smell. It can be something they see. It can be anything in the environment. It can cause an alter to front. And so sometimes your alter will front just because it sees someone was saying something, or there's a certain song that went on, or there's a certain smell that came about. An alter may see that as a signal to front. And so who knows of what happened in my past that caused that alter to front, but she did. And so I'll say on my number 2 spot of weird stuff about DID would be blackouts. For the number 3 spot, what I think about the 7 things would be called PTSD or depression. And so basically, when you have PTSD or depression, it can be very hard. And some people don't actually talk about that when it comes to dissociative identity disorder, of having depression, having PTSD, even having complex PTSD. Some people don't actually talk about it, but it can be very overwhelming because again, if when you're a traumatic system, the reason why you have alters and the reason why you have switching is because of trauma. And when you have trauma, it comes with the baggage of depression. It comes with the baggage of unhealthy thoughts. It comes with the baggage of even isolating yourself sometimes from people and from even your own emotions. And so PTSD is huge when it comes to having DID, and it's something I struggle with, and it sucks having PTSD. You have to learn how to work with it. And so I'll say a few keys to that will be psychotherapy, which is talk therapy. And when we go to therapy, actually, I just had a therapy session this morning with my therapist about my alters. And so that was a really good, very constructive therapy session. And so therapy is good. And finding a therapist that knows trauma, especially childhood trauma, if you find a therapist that knows how to deal with trauma and how to deal with that kind of stuff, the deep stuff, it will actually help you out, especially if you have a therapist that does believe in dissociative identity disorder. That's even a huge plus, in which we were lucky to find a therapist that believes in DID and knows how to work with it. And so I'm actually his second DID patient he has right now, working with. And so I'm really grateful that I was able to find him through an individual person I know that goes to him as well. And so yes, PTSD is real, and even complex PTSD is real, and it's hard. And so the few things I learned from him is meditation works great. Meditation is huge. It's good. Also, talking to people and opening up to people is really good as well. And also, even diet. Diet actually does help a lot too when it comes to your depression and stuff. Actually, what you eat can actually can contribute to depressive states as well. And so I've been checking my diet. I've been doing meditation. I've been doing a lot of talk therapy. And so there's a bunch of combination of different things that are able to help me not feel so isolated, because if you get isolated with DID, it can be very dangerous because you don't want those unhealthy thoughts to manifest and you end up doing something to yourself. And so, yes, I would say this is number 3 would be PTSD. For number 4, I would say dissociative states. When you disassociate, it's part of having dissociative identity disorder. That's why they call it dissociative identity disorder, because the main part about it is not necessarily switching personalities, like it used to be called MPD, multiple personality disorder, but now it's called DID, dissociative identity disorder. And so I would say this will be a strong 4, will be the dissociation. Dissociation sucks. Sometimes it doesn't feel good at all to disassociate, because when you disassociate, with us, our experience with it is sometimes I don't feel like I'm inside my body. I see myself floating outside of my body, and I feel like almost like I experience like someone else is living my life, and I'm outside of that experience. And so dissociation can be feeling, you can feel completely detached, like nothing is real, like nothing is solid. And it can be a very scary feeling. Because when I first was experiencing this more and more, I thought I had some kind of brain tumor. I didn't know what was going on until I was able to eventually see a therapist and realize it was actually something more of not medically, but mostly something that was mental. And so dissociating states can be very, very difficult. And so the best way to do is to ground yourself. Grounding yourself is a good way of doing that. And you can ground yourself by many different things. My therapist taught me something called the 5 breathing technique. And so what the 5 breathing technique is basically is pretty much is meditation. He tells me to do it for like a minute or 2 minutes. He says you don't have to be like a yogi and do it for like hours. Just like a short meditation to ground yourself, and able to breathe and able to feel yourself connected to the earth again. Other grounding techniques can even be just even watching a video, watching a movie, listening to songs, anything that you can feel that can ground yourself and not wanting to take off and go to another state. Because again, we have dissociative identity disorder. The key of that is dissociation. And so I would say grounding is the best way to stop disassociating. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes the brain is going to do what the brain's going to do. And so I would say that's my number 4 will be disassociation. For the number 5 spot, I would say altered communication. Now, when you communicate with alters, it can be very difficult when it comes to switching. Because switching is definitely a part of having DID. It's one of the manifestations of the dissociative states. And so switching can be very, I would say, a lot of pressure on the mind. It can even be pressure on the body. What I mean by pressure, it means it can be very stressful at points to switch. Like there's sometimes when I do want to switch because it's kind of like an itch I want to scratch. And I'm like, okay, I need to switch because I just can't stand the dissociative state no more. So if I just get it over with and just let the alter come out and do whatever it needs to do, I'll feel normal again. And there's sometimes where I don't want to switch, what I call fighting a switch. Where I'm like, I don't want to switch. I don't want to deal with this. I just want to stay in my body. So I end up fighting the switch. And so switching can definitely be, again, very stressful on the body and on the mind. And so altered communication can also be very tricky. Because when you first understand that you have DID, is you have to know how to communicate with your headmates in your mind. Now, some people are able to do that, able to communicate with the headmates in their minds, and they have a two-way conversation with the voice in their head, which are their alters. And now, I'm able to do that now. At first, it was very difficult, but I'm able to do that now more. But previous to that, the best way to do it sometimes is to get a notebook. Depends how much of the amnesia barriers you're facing between alters. Mine have come down somewhat. We still get amnesia barriers when it comes to like when it comes like to switching, but when it comes to like communication between alters actually talking to each other, it tends to be very much more of a fluid process, at least for our system. But yes, again, switching is not always fun, but sometimes it's something that needs to take place. And again, it's good to give your alters time out as well, time to to switch, time to be outside of the body. I think that's very healthy for the alters because if you always try to lock them inside the inner world and the mind space, it won't be good for your system because they're going to keep on fighting and fighting and fighting it, and eventually they will front. They will definitely front. And so in our case, again, what we tend to do is try to bridge that gap of communication with writing. We use the Plural app. There's an app called there's a Plural app called Simply Plural, which you can download. You can download it on iTunes if you have an Apple phone, or you can download it on the Android store. But we use Simply Plural as a way to communicate to as well. So all the communication is very, very important. And again, depending on your system, it depends on the amnesia barriers. Either you want to write to the alter if you're unable to communicate in the headspace. And so I would say that will be on this list of 7 will be altered communication. For the number 6 spot, I will say will be called food. That's the only thing I titled it was food. The reason why I say food or even entertainment or anything that you enjoy could be very well a huge challenge when you have DID. Because when you have DID, it's not like you're just like a singlet where it's just you and yourself. Like, like that phrase, me, myself, and I. It's not like that. When you have DID, it's you and a few other people that live inside your head. And these people are sentient. Alters are sentient. They are conscious. They have feelings. They have thoughts. They have desires. They have needs and wants, just like we do. And so since that's the case, that alters are sentient and are conscious and are able to communicate, going to like a movie theater to watch a movie will be a little bit more of a challenge because one alter may like the movie and one alter may not want to go see a movie. Maybe the alter wants to go and eat at a restaurant, or maybe the alter just wants to go and lay down and doesn't want to deal with the crowds in the movie theater. And so you have to take literally a democratic vote to see where is the line, how would they respond to it. And so that's what we do in our system. Like we have 17 alters in our system. And out of 17 alters in the system, it's hard to get 17 people on the same page. It is extremely hard to get 17 people on the same page. So once kind of the same thing. And so when it comes to food, when it comes to movies, when it comes to any kind of recreation, it becomes a really challenge. And so I say, okay, guys, how it works for me is that I go into inner world and I'm like, okay, guys, raise your hands. Who wants to see the new Batman film or something? And I'll have maybe 5 or 6 alters raise a hand, and maybe a few more that won't have their hands raised. And I'm like, okay, why don't you want to see the movie? And so I'm trying to convince them to see the movie because I want to see the movie, and other 5 other people that raise their hand want to see the movie. And so it becomes like kind of like trying to convince them, you know. So the 5 people that want it, they'll try to convince the 5 people that don't want it why they should want it. And so it becomes a fun debate in a headspace, and we'll debate it. One person's like, I hate Batman. Batman sucks, blah, 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 like Spider-Man. One person's like, you know what, Spider-Man sucks. And so those are the funniest things, and we have DID, is again to get people on the same page. And so food, recreation, or anything that you like to enjoy could be different. And so I'm lucky that all my alters are actually like my iPhone, because I paid a lot of money for it. And so I'm glad that not one of them say, well, I want Android. And so that's really, really good. And so, yeah, I guess it depends on the item and, you know, get the kind of purchase you want to make. But it can be very, very difficult. And so I would say that's on the list of the number 7 is food and etc. Okay, we are at number 7 now. And so I titled number 7, Sleep and Miscellaneous Crap. That's one way I can describe this next session is sleep and miscellaneous crap. Okay, let's start with sleep. When you have DID, sleep can be very, very difficult. Very, very hard. Because it's hard to go to sleep. It's because you always are constantly either awake or alters awake or something's going on. And even the fact that you have PTSD, it's hard to fall asleep. It's hard even to have a full night's of restful sleep. And so sleep becomes a very, very, very good, almost like a commodity. Like if you're able to get a good night's sleep, thank God, you know? And so with us, we have huge sleep problems with our system. And so sleep is horrible, man. It's terrible. And so I'm trying to figure out a way how to get a better sleep and better rest. But also, once going to therapy, that really upped the ante for us because now we're going through a healing process. And so sleep becomes even more so because I have alters are awake that are talking to each other. And I'm like, guys, please be quiet. I'm trying to get some sleep. Or they'll say something that has me thinking about something. And since I'm thinking, my brain's awake or whatever. And so, or maybe sometimes I sleep and they front. That has happened to me before. Well, they'll front and they'll do something. And I wake up in the morning. I know Alta did it because I don't remember doing it. And so sleep, again, can be a very, very interesting thing. Sleep is very interesting. And also with sleep is also waking up. Because sometimes I can wake up in the morning not knowing who I am. Now, that's the most freakiest feeling in DID is waking up and not knowing who you are. So I'm like, you know, trying to fall asleep. By the time, like, sometimes for me, like around 4 or 5 o'clock, I finally fall asleep. And so I wake up around 10 o'clock in the morning. And so as I'm waking up, I'm thinking, who the hell am I? Like, who am I? Am I a man? Am I a woman? Who am I? And it's a weird feeling because you don't know who you are. You pretty much are, you wake up into an identity crisis. You literally wake up in an identity crisis. You don't know if you're a man. You don't know if you're a woman. You don't know if you're black or white. You don't know anything. And it's the most freakiest feeling. So what I do is I find myself staring at the ceiling for about maybe 15 minutes, totally glazed over. I can see the ceiling. I can hear things in the background, but I still don't know who I am. And eventually, boom, it breaks. And I realize, oh, I'm Adam. And I start my day. Unless sometimes that's happened before and there actually a front happens. And I find myself in what I call the no man's land. Because sometimes when people ask me that question, where do you go when Alta's front? And so I want to try to answer you the best I can, or at least what's my experience of it is that when Alta front, I find myself in no man's land. In other words, it's not a place I'm at or am I in. It's more like I just don't remember. It's like blackness. Like you're like, it's like a blackout. That's the way I can describe it. Like I don't feel like I'm in any place. And there's sometimes where I'm actually find myself in the inner world where it's actually more of a visual, kind of like a dream state kind of thing. But 9 out of 10 times it's like, where did you go? I can't tell you. It's like nowhere. It's kind of weird and kind of strange. And so, and now we're talking about the miscellaneous crap of DID. The miscellaneous crap of DID. When it comes to DID, the worst part of it is not believing you have DID. Now, that's the worst part because your brain will say, you're faking it. You don't have DID. And so I had weeks of that where I don't think I have a DID. I'm like, no, I don't have DID. I'm faking it. Or sometimes I think I'm cured because the Alta hasn't fronted in a while. I'm like, you know what? I'm cured of DID, man. The Alta didn't front for a while. Yeah, screw me, right? Because, like, you know, I'll say that, and next you know, 23 hours will pass, and I'm not in the body, and I find that I'm somewhere else, I'm going, oh, guess I altered did front, and I am not cured of DID. Or you get in those spells where you think you're faking, well, I must be a good actor, I must be faking DID. But, you know, but something will happen, you realize you're not faking DID. And I remember when I first told people, my friends and family, that I had DID. And to my surprise, they told me, well, that makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense, Adam, that you have DID, because when we talk to you, it's like talking to like 5 different people. And I was kind of shocked. In a way, it was validating, yes, but in a way, I felt really bad about myself, because I'm like, damn, am I really that messed up that these people thought they were talking to 5 different people? It was like, holy crap, is that obvious? And I asked one of my friends, I said, was it really that obvious? He says, hell yeah. He said, Adam, it was extremely obvious I was not talking to you. I was talking to something else. He says, but I couldn't put my finger on it. He says, I know you didn't have schizophrenia because his brother has schizophrenia, so he knows how that is. But he didn't know what I had mentally going on. And I talked to other friends and family, and they said they have the same experience. And so with us, it was more like, well, we're glad we know what's going on. Because it scared the crap out of a lot of people because they didn't know what was going on with me. And so when I found out I had a diagnosis from a therapist about DID, they'd be like, oh, what a sigh of relief. And so again, those are the 7 things about DID. And please like and subscribe. And see you later. Bye-bye.